Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing? It's your man Rondell Jordan, aka the Black Swan, with another episode of the Black Swans Worldview. And this is where we analyze the world we live in and have discussion, dialogue about some of the hot topics. Today's hot topic is Black history in the Bible. All right. I want to prove to you that the Tower of Babel was about the Egyptian people, the Canaanites who lived right outside of what we now call the continent of Africa because it's currently divided by the Suez Canal. So now, because of man, we have now completely surrounded Africa with water. But before, Africa was actually had a small little 100-mile land bridge right here in the north of what we now call North Egypt. Back then it was called Southern Nubia, right? But right here is where the allegory of the story of Moses dividing the seas, where God divided the seas, and they went up into the land of Canaan. This is the Canaanites are the natural inhabitants of these people, of this land here, all right? And as you see, this is all part of Africa, the continent of Africa. These copper mines that are found in this region of the world have the hieroglyphs of the ancient Kemetic rulers, which we now call Egypt because of the Greeks migrating down into Egypt, right? This is the reason why this is the most coveted land on the earth because it is the epicenter of the old world. It is the route which the Africans migrated out of Africa and migrated and spread it throughout the entire earth. This is the reason why when we look at the earth, we see the melanated people. The people can be traced back to Africa, all over the planet, all over the continent, because there was a great migration out of the only land bridge possible in the world, which is what I just showed you, that land bridge going out through the land of Canaan. All right, so as we look at this world, we can make sense of how the world is evolving. You see how compressed and condensed this area is. This is going to affect the evolution of these people here, and this is kind of what we discussed. And the progression of the Spanish, the union between the Italian, the Spanish, and the Israeli, right? And to the new world, which is the Garden of Eden, which the African people, today we're going to prove that these people were cursed. And these people, the Bible is about the blessings of these people coming down through the Turks, down from Mesopotamia, up and around and settling into Canaan, basically taking over this land and in the land of Egypt, right? And the way you do this is by demonizing the people and burying their history. So this is the reason why when we look at the ancient figures, let's go ahead and look at some of the ancient figures we're going to be going through here quickly today. But of course, the Bible says has Egypt taking place all over the place, right? It says, out of Egypt I call my son. So nothing could have actually took place without the continent, without Egypt being involved. But let's look at the pyramids, all right? These pyramids went up into the heavens, as you know. They were built by these people here, which we call, let's just go ahead and just people, pyramids. Now, if we look at these pyramids, we know that they are in alignment with the Orion constellations. So what this means is that they have a connection with the heavens and the earth, right? A construction that actually encompasses the dynamics of the earth, meaning the circumference and a lot of the different measurements of the earth, all embedded into the mysterious mathematics of the pyramids. So these pyramids are not only just in ancient Egypt, but pyramids are all over the world. From you got pyramids in let's see where you want to go. China, pyramids in China. All right, you got pyramids in Belize. right? All right, pyramid in Belize, pyramids in Mexico, right? Pyramids, let's just put Mexico, Illinois, Bosnia, Sudan. Let's go to the Sudan because the most of the pyramids in Sudan, as you know, these pyramids, this is the original. The Sudan is the southern region of what we now call what would be Sudan and Ethiopia. All right, but at that time it was the Nubian kingdom. All right, and these pyramids are surrounded by cities. Okay, and so by city. Okay, so pyramids are typically surrounded by the people who built those pyramids. And we went to the pyramids of Illinois. I went to the pyramids in Belize, and these are epicenters, right? These are epicenters, most likely have multiple uses to tell the weather, to see where the enemy's coming from, as a gathering of places if there was a hurricane, place for shopping and sports events, major sporting events. So these are the ones I'm talking about, specifically the ones in Belize. But these were epicenters. These were epicenter of cultures. Okay, if we go to the pyramids. So we're talking about towers. That's all I'm establishing now is that we're talking about towers who were built. Let us build a city and a tower's top in the heavens. So we're just establishing that the tower are pyramids, and they were building pyramids all over the world. So now let's really, before we get into the story, let's get into who is the story about. Rondell proved to me that we're talking about African people. All right. So where is the proof? The proof is in the sons of Ham, or Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Each one of these sons represents an African nation. All right. The first one, Cush, he is the first mentioned. All right. He's the eldest son of and grandson of Noah. So we see the biblical reference here. And then here in the definition, the southern part of ancient Nubia, first mentioned in Egyptian records of the Middle Kingdom. In the Bible, it is the country of the descendants of Cush. All right. So we're talking about the descendants of Cush, a nation in the Bible. All right. So this is the reason why we're in the Bible today, not for religious purposes, but for research purposes. All right. Mizraim is the Hebrew and Aramaic name for the land of Egypt. All right. And with the dual suffix "saxium," perhaps referring to the two kingdoms, Upper and Lower Egypt. All right. So Put is Libya. All right. And Canaan is the biblical name for the area of ancient Palestine, west of the Jordan River. As you can see in the definition, it has the promised land of the Israelites. So if it's a land of promise to them, a blessing to them, then it is a people who were cursed, right? Because it says who conquered and occupied it during the later parts of the second millennium BC. That is 2,000 years BC, right? Millennia, 1,000 years BC. So 2,000 years BC is what we're talking about. And they conquered. So we're not talking about the Khazarian Jews that are coming out of that are migrating and coming out of the area between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. We know that this kingdom converted to Judaism in about the year 300 century. All right. So Anno Domini. So this is the new European sector of the Hebrew, the Hebrew people, which now are occupying this area under the pretense that the Bible establishes that this is the promised land for the people of Israel. So now we have people from this region here, right? It's not labeled. It's a secret kingdom here. The Jewish head of the world, right? The modern head of the world. These were the subjects of the World War against Hitler. And so therefore, these people were brought down, and now they're currently populating this region. And these are not my words. These are words that are in words that are written in the Bible, that is talking about people posing as Jews, right? And I'm not going to really. The purpose of this is really not to go that deep into that at this point, but it is to more identify our history as opposed to the history that we're being told. At the same time, we're talking about the Alpha and Omega here in Revelations 22. It also mentions the same thing. Let me just point something out here real quick. That people have been, I have a few things against you because you have there those who hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel. So the real people to eat things sacrificed to idols and to commit sexual immortality. All right. They're being tricked by who? People posing. This is Revelations 2, so I know I'm in the right area here. Come on. Where's where I'm looking for? All right, so again, it says, I know the works, tribulation, and poverty. So your works creating, the people creating tribulation and poverty. But they are rich, but you are rich, right? And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So I'm just proving to you that, that this Bible is about people being cursed, right? And they're being cursed. They're African people, and they're being cursed to basically lose their land to justify the taking over that land. Is to prove that this curse is something that is part of any deception. Is right here in the last chapter of Revelations, where it says there shall be no more curse. Why? It's because the tree of life, which bore 12 fruit, each tree yielding its fruit every month, the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations, and right, so that there shall be no more curse. And it also confirms that those who the Alpha, the Omega, which is the beginning and the end, the first and the last, which is the Genesis and the Revelations, that which we're studying. Blessed are those who do his commandment, who may have the right, the tree of life. You see, the tree of life was a right and made to enter through the gates in the city, but outside are dogs, sorcerers, sexual immortals, murderers, and idolaters, and whoever loves and practices a lie. All right, so this is all something that we have to be careful, and this is the reason why we are going through this, making sure that we are going through the Genesis and the Revelations, the beginning and the end, the first and last books, to make sure that we're not becoming idolaters and loving and practicing in lies. All right, so we just proved that the sons of Ham were all African. We're talking about Canaan, we're talking about Libya, we're talking about Egypt, we're talking about Ethiopia, Nubia. All right. So now that we established that, let's establish that it is the Canaanites who were dispersed. Like I said already, they're being dispersed because this land is coveted. Look at where it's located. Okay, Africa surrounded by water. This is the only land bridge out. The Mediterranean Sea, what we call now, deads into that. The Red Sea deads into that. The Nile River flows up into this region here. The European access into here from Greece, Italy, everybody who's conquered Egypt, right? This is their access point. So you get the taxes, the tariffs, the fees, and you get to control the traffic. So you get to make sure that the Africans don't get to come out anymore, right? So this is all happening right now today as we speak. Libya is being turned from one of the most successful African nations under the regime of Gaddafi into now it is the epicenter of the modern slave trade. They're selling brothers for $400 there right now, okay? Go get you an African man for $400, right? So there's a lot of history going on right now. I know I'm breaking all of that down, but I'm telling you that these people are going to be among the people who, all of these people are going to be among the people who are subjected to servitude for these people in the lands of these people, in the tents of Shem, right? Right? On behalf to and to enlarge Josepheth, and these people are the sons of Cush. So we're gonna break all that down here really, really quick. So I'm just establishing now that the families of the Canaanites were dispersed. They're being dispersed as we go into the story. So let's get into it. So it says, now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar. And they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. That is an identifying statement there, because brick and asphalt, brick and mortar, that is a certain type of stone building. The pyramids are actually built stone upon stone. All right, so it's a little bit of telling about masonry and its influence. All right, I Jesus have sent my. Oh no, excuse me. What am I doing here? And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the earth. So as you can see already, their intentions were not of glory, of not of pride, of not of disobedience, but their intentions was because they feared being scattered abroad over the face of the earth. All right. So they said, let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad. All right. Let's confirm that. So, but the Lord is a definition. It's a word that means master, ruler, leader, chief, superior, someone or something having power, authority, or influence. It does not mean God of the universe. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. It's very important to identify that we're talking about the sons of men as opposed to sons of Jacob. Okay, these are the dynamics. The sons of men as opposed to sons of Jacob in the New Testament become the sons of David. All right, had built, the sons of men have built. And the Lord, the master, said, indeed, the people are one and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now, nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. So, you see, this is the problem in the story. All right, he confirms, indeed, all right, the people are one and they all have one language. This is unity being confirmed, one in one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now, what did they begin to do? Build a city and a tower, right? Now, nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. This is the issue. Anything that you do as a group, this is the key to development of a nation. This is the key to wealth. This is the key to success and prosperity. That now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. So this is the issue of the story. This is the problem, right? So how does that translate in the real world? We are all over here speaking in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Latin. The scriptures are written in Latin, Greek, and Hebrew. So it's hard to even piece together a lot of and organize, right? So it says, "Come, let us." This right here this means this Lord has allegiance. Us, that you is capitalized there because it's superior, not lowercase, regular, but uppercase, saying that we are more superior. It's allegiance. Go down and there cause confusion, their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the confusion of language is a systematic process of keeping the people divided so that they cannot communicate, organize, and build, and develop, and prosper as a people. Okay? This is the true morals and messages of the story. If it's not, you can show me your perspective. but that they may not understand one another's speech. That's a sabotage. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. So scattered, right? Right? Scattered is mentioned 3 times. Scattered, right? Scattered again, right? Scattered, scattered, scattered. Where? Abroad. Abroad means specifically, by definition, overseas, in or foreign countries or countries. So who, by definition, is scattered overseas? The sons of Ham. This is how Abram became Abraham. See, Abram, right, departed to go to the land of Canaan. Who? Abram, Sarah, his wife, Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they acquired in Haran. Right? Among these people, Sarah had a bondservant named Hagar, who is Egyptian. All right, right, and even actually, this story here is when Abram goes to Egypt and he lies and about his dwelt in the land of Canaan. See, they just starting out. They start out foreigners and then they multiply, right? And then, of course, the covenant. He has basically a premonition or something that God is telling him that this is going to his land. Hagar, right, is the Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. She was more than a maidservant because on Sarah's command, Sarah told Abram to have, here it goes right here. Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, okay, they're letting you know, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. You see that saying? To be his wife, okay? After Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. See this? A decade in Canaan. So he went into Hagar and she conceived, right? And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised at her. See? So Sarah became very, very, very jealous, basically, right? All right. So anyway, I'm not going to go all the way through that story, but this is to tell you that the first seed of Abram is an African. Okay? It's an African. A mulatto. And this is the reason why we're seeing the spread of Islam. Islam is supposed to be the seed of Abraham, which is the mulatto seed who was sent down to the south. Right? Prove it, Rondell. I love proving it, right? So Egyptian means black. Right? She's from the continent of Africa, right? And she is a slave of the Hebrew Abram, who's coming from Mesopotamia, the place of domesticated sheep, all right? The Mesopotamia, right? Between 11,000 and 9,000 BC, we're talking about. This stuff can be actually proof, right? The wild mouflon. Ever seen a wild mouflon before? Search for wild mouflon. Look at the wild mouflon. Look like a brother. Got his melanin, got his head protection, ready for the wild, created by God, right? But a domesticated creature, what we now is the sheep. We're now sheeps. We're made into domesticated sheeps, which have no protection on their head, just fur, so that they can. It's a produce. It's a beast of the field. All right. The sheep are among the first animals to have been domesticated by humans. There is evidence of sheep farming in Iranian statuary dating to that time period. Iranian, remember I told you? Iran. This is Tehran right here, the capital. See? Georgia, you see the migration down. You see the human migration is traceable, right? Boom, boom, boom. This is it. Boom, 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 boom. You got to go through the land bridge. The only access point. Look, the Moors end up conquering over here, but you still had to go across water. You still had to go across water from Djibouti to Yemen. So you gotta go. You gotta have a boat. This is the only way you can walk with your animals and all that kind of stuff. All right. So the mistress despiser. I proved to you that all right. So Abram is very important to establish after Isaac was born. Basically, they got kicked out. All right. So let's go to 24 here. 25. Let's see here. Let's go. No. Sarah's death. Oh man, hold on, wrong book. Isaac is born. So when Isaac is born, all right, that means Hagar and Ishmael had to depart. So Hagar and her mulatto son with the seed of Abram, who are the black Israelites. Watch, I'm going to show you how you get a black Israelite. So Hagar is a black woman. She's Egyptian. Abram has a child with her, right? And they birth Ishmael. He's a mulatto. So what happens is that Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, who she bore to Abram. She was crying. She said, cast out this bondwoman, all right? So she's calling her a bond. At first they called her a maidservant, but it's a bond servant or slave. She had to have her child on her command. That's a slave. This means that woman is controller of her body. It's actually confirmed bond servant here again. She did not want them to share the birthright, okay? But God told Abram that, do not let the displeasing to your sight because of the lad and because of your woman, your bondwoman. However, Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, and Isaac's seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the sons of the bondwoman. See what I'm saying? So this is the reason why you have the two different sons, the two different sectors of Judaism, which is now Christian, right, on this side, on the European, on the white side, Christian, and on the mulatto side, the Arabic side, which is Islam and Muslim. And this is designed for the Africans, right? So it's spread all through Africa, but it's in competition. I mean, these people are in competition. It's a dynamic, but they don't understand that they're daggum wings of the same bird. They're brethren, they're brethren, and we can show you all of that here. I might as well just go right there to the proof immediately. Here we got 2 Genesis. So let's prove that they're brothers. We're all actually brethren, as described. We already went through the sons of Ham, who were all African and who were cursed, right? Cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants. He shall be to his brethren. And he shall, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, the native man, and made Canaan be his servant, right? So he's a servant of the native man. May God enlarge Josepheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem. So this is why the European is living in the land and developing the land under land contracts. That's the reason why this is not a nation, but a district of Columbia, a corporation, all right? And I can prove all of that here in a second. And may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So Cain is serving both of these. Shem and Canaan is serving Joseph, enlarging Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Josepheth. So as I showed you earlier, Josepheth, the Canaanite, the people of Africa, and the Shem, the tents of Shem. He's in the tents of Shem, and he's his servant, and he's also the servant of those there developing and building up the lands of the brethren. So it's to show you that all of this stuff is allegories telling you about the real life scenarios that are going on the earth. So if you notice a great detail about this right here, God opened her eyes. This is Hagar, right? God heard the voice of the lad angel. He called to Hagar out of heaven, right? And he said to her, what ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard your voice. And the lad, where it is, arise, lift up the lad and hold him with your hand like Simba, and I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad to drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. This is why you see the Egyptians with the archery, right? He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. So that's the point I'm trying to make right there. He took a wife. So if you see Hagar, his mother was Egyptian. His father is Hebrew from Mesopotamian, okay? And then his wife then is Egyptian again. So that means his offspring is what? They're black like myself. My mother's lineage means that my mother's lineage started with an African woman and an Italian, a Mediterranean merchant, right, who owned that woman. He went inside her and had my greatest grandfather in my family over here in this region, right? And from there, my grandfather he made it with another black woman and became black again through the process of mating with another African woman after the seed is already planted inside him. So this is what makes me uniquely an African American and not an African, straight pure African. Africans, they'll ask you, are you African? And I'll say, well, I'm African American. They'll be like, all right, they understand, but that's not the real. You're not, you have been mating something different, which is exhibited in the Black Panther with Michael B. Jordan versus the Black Panther. All right, we have a different viewpoint of the world, but yet we still have a deep connection to the African lineage. Okay, because we re-African after the seed has been placed. All right, so you see, that is how you would get a black Israelite or those tribes, because Abram went into a black woman, had a child. That child then married a black woman and became black. And therefore you got a whole group of people who God said that he was going to multiply, just like the sons of Jacob. All right. Because Isaac was born after Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob, and then Joseph. All right. And then the New Testament starts off with Joseph having a stepson named Jesus. All right. So Abraham gave all that he had, Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of the concubines which Abraham had. So, this is another dynamic that is being hidden from our culture and from our tradition, is that the Bible are about polygamists, okay? And we'll do several, from the jump, okay? If you go to Genesis 4, if you notice, I do a show on Adah and Zillah, right? Lamach's two wives, right? We talk about he killed a man for wounding me and a young man for hurting me, that it came to be avenged sevenfold and Lamach 77-fold. He ended up living 77 years. He's the father of Noah. So this is how everybody is linked to Cain, right? From the beginning, all right? So if you see right here, Lamach begets Noah. All right? Here, let's prove all things. Lamach lived 182 years, and he had a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, this one will comfort us. He will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. See? This is Genesis 5. And the master has cursed the ground already. Okay. And it was cursed actually in all through Cain. So the Bible is about a curse on a certain group of people. All right. And if you look at the curse very closely, you will notice that this is the curse on the people of African descent. So people don't know that they're believing and worshiping a curse. It says the serpent. Again, the serpent is what is a staple part of the African culture. So if we just go over here and we look statues of um, ancient Egypt. I usually do Kemet, but statue of ancient Egypt, we will notice instantly, boom, nose blown off. Is right, the nose blown off. So that's a cover up of the negroid, right? The nostril that identifies the negroid. It's a lot of them, like tons of them. But not only is the nostril blown off, as you will see here, the serpent. The serpent is also being as a staple part. You look at their headdress, the crown chakra in the center, where the third eye is at, their awareness as wise as a serpent, right? So if we, the same thing on tons of monuments, the serpent removed, the nostril damaged, okay? We look at the Sphinx, right? Let's say Kemet, Kemet. I just want to see that. So if we look at, you know, the nostril, but I'm actually trying to identify the serpent as well. The earlier ones as well, the nostril, to hide the facts and the reality of the negroid, all right? The actual reality of who we are. But as you can see right here, the serpent is a staple part of wisdom and knowledge in the culture of the African people. So everything African was demonized. Our spirituality, our knowledge, the human being himself, the land. If you look at the Sphinx, which will be the last thing before Sphinx, shoot, I don't even know how to even. Let's see here. If you look at it, we will notice that the nostril is blown off, and the serpent in the nostril. They're hiding everything African about us, man. And all we're doing is basically piecing that history together and showing it to you. So the serpent is being said deceived. Actually, this is a mistranslation. If you look, it's saying swindle, deceive, something that is not true. But everything the serpent said in the story, I will prove, and I can prove 100% that is true. But I can also prove to you that that word was changed, right? It says here, it says the serpent beguiled me. Beguiled simply means that it was cunning. So what I'm trying to say to you is that the words are being changed to manipulate the way people read the story. So this is the reason why you get a very demonizing version of the serpent, even though the serpent is not called evil. It's not anything. Everything the serpent said was true, right? But beguile means to charm or enchant, sometimes in a deceptive way. But this was not being done in a deceptive way at all. The serpent simply said that your eyes got, the serpent said to the woman, you will not die. God do know that in the day you eat thereof, that your eyes will be open and you shall be as gods. See that? And not just one, but as gods, knowing good and evil. All right. So the King James has been changed even within its new version. All right. Notice it says, so did anything he say was a lie? No, it says, and the woman saw the tree was good for food and it was pleasant to the eyes and the tree desirable to make one wise. We're talking about wisdom. She desired to be wise, right? It says that nothing was wrong with her eyes because it was pleasant. She saw that the tree was good, pleasant in her eyes. But then it says, she took of the fruit and did eat and gave also unto her husband with her. He was with her. She didn't go back and seduce him. And he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, like the serpent said. It says, your eyes shall be open. So that's the truth. He didn't lie. That's not a deception. They knew they were naked and they sowed fig leaves, not apples. How did apples get in there? Apples is a tradition of the Let's do it here. Let's do the. I was proving here that the Kemetic people invented the harp and the flute, but we're gonna go. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna. I'm just gonna go to a new one. All right, so we're looking up um, the traditions, the Greek traditions. So did you guys know where that came? Greek apple tradition, okay? If you will see here, proof that the ancient Greek did so, proposing to their darlings in a really extraordinary way by throwing an apple in there at their chosen wife. If the woman caught the apple, she accepted the marriage proposal. The origin of the wedding custom, like most other Greek traditions, traditions can be found in Greek mythology. All right, so we see how the apple associated with Adam and Eve being husband and wife is a Greek tradition based off of Greek mythology. But we look in here in the story and they're actually talking about fig leaves, right? So if there's any fruit that should be in the story, really it should be fig leaves. But they made themselves apron, all right, and they heard the voice of the God. Not only did they hear the voice, they heard him walking, right? So this is the master calling himself God because he has the knowledge. All right. He is walking in the garden in the cool of the day. So we're talking about a man. So that right there proves it in the word right there. Okay. And Adam and his wife hid themselves as another proof from the presence. So that this God had a presence and they hid themselves. Why? Right. And the Lord God amongst the trees. All right. So they were able to hide among the trees. So the Lord God had to say to Adam, where are you? Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice, your voice in the garden, and I was afraid. Why? Because I was naked. So this means his physical appearance was at question and he hid himself. So this is proof that this is a master in the garden and not a omnipresent, omnipotent God that is both in and outside the body. Okay. And he said, who told thee that you were naked? So he admits, like the serpent said, that somebody told you, and this was information. All right. So let's go back to the New King James Version, so that we can all really understand. I just was trying to establish how the words has already been changed, even in the King James body themselves. All right, so they hid themselves. Look at the curse. The curse is on the serpent, right? Who just simply told them the truth. They didn't die in the day they ate it. In the day they ate it, their eyes were open. They got information. Now it says, "Curse is the ground. This is the land. And told you should eat of it." But this was at the end. I'm sorry, I mean to get to this part. To the serpent, to prove that the serpent was actually a. This is the serpent here, the Kemetic ruler, the man. Prove that he's a man. Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the cattle. He's being made into what? A cattle is what? A cattle is, look up cattle. It is a domesticated remnant animal with horns and cloven feet for food and milk, right? Its body and its produce, as beast of burden. That's what a cow is, right? So it says you are cursed more than cattle. So if we look at our people, these people were bonded up as cattle, all right, as livestock. So we're using everything proof. All right, it says, and more than every beast of the field. We're confirming that we're talking about a plantation. We're talking about an open area of land, especially one planted with crops or pasture animals, right? On your belly you shall go. So I always like showing the picture of how the ancestors were brought. They go. This is the way they went over here, on their bellies and on their backs. You can't just keep them on their backs, so they will get sores, and it would rot, and they would be no good. So they had to flip them and turn them, just like you do livestock. You have to give it time to gaze, take them up on the bow of the ship. Anyway, on the belly you should go, and you shall eat dust. Dust means the waste matter, right? The dust, the dirt, the grime, the filth, the smut, the chitlins, right? The chitlins, the ham hocks, the oxtails, the pig feet, the pig ears, right? The pig skin that's fried up, right? The gumbo with all these different, shrimp and, pig feet and all these different things, right? All the days of your life, and I will put enmity. So this individual is placing enmity between you and the woman. So we know when we're talking about a man and a woman, hostility, right? You know what I mean? The state of being actively opposed to, right? This is the reason why we have such a high rate of divorce and single parenting, right? 78% are headed by single mothers. This is based on the family living below poverty level in 2013, the U.S. Census Bureau of 2013. BlackDemographics.com. Go see it. Black families with children living in poverty, 78% in the United States, right, are headed by single mothers. That is overwhelming fact, right? We need the man and the woman together, right? Like the Akhenaten, him and Nefertiti, right? And between your seed and her seed, just in case there's anything confusing that you're talking about between man and a woman, we're now talking about between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, meaning that he's going to rule over your head. He's going to cause mental conflict, emotional conflict. He's going to stress you out. And you shall bruise his heel, meaning that you're going to weaken him. He's going to be strong. Imagine LeBron James, as strong as he is, but he has a bruised heel. He won't be able to dunk and be as strong as he is. He won't be as valuable as he is, worth millions. It's influential as he is, right? So you can see the Bible writer, they intersect here and try to throw you off. It says to the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and conception. But he was talking to the woman right here when he says between you and the woman and between your seed and her seed. Then it should be here to the woman, he said, right? He shall bruise your head, because that's what he's talking to the woman. And then he's saying, and you shall bruise his heel. So the woman, right? This should be here. But like I said, that's part of the manipulation and deception. Someone had to make this up, right? I will greatly multiply your sorrows and your conception. The way you perceive things, right, creates the sorrow, right? Because you're thinking of, in pain you shall bring forth children, right? Right? Your children are circumcised right as they enter the world, means they're cut on the most sensitive part of their bodies. All right. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Instead of having that male-female balance like the original ancestors with the Ankh, the female energy in balance with the masculine energy creates the offspring, like the story actually is trying to suggest. If you look here, the original part of the start of the story, I just got finished showing you how they narrate the story based off of where they're telling, how they tell it. But if you look at it, it says, therefore, man, therefore, meaning that this story beyond here is supposed to be confirming that a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh, as in having sexual intercourse, and then thus having a child. And that child is one individual having both the male and the female's lineage into that individual, right? And they were both naked or innocent or ignorant. The man and his wife, they were married and were not ashamed. They had no shame. Okay. All right. So they were in the native state. There's also the dynamic on that. They're in a native state before they were given the information of civilization. Christopher Columbus, the Egyptian came in. The first civilization would be the Egyptians. All right. So the encounter of civilization. So it's a double entendre. But I prove to you that the God is walking, talking in the Bible, that he's actually doing what? He's going to confirm the serpent here in the end of here. All right. So after it all, he cursed the ground for Adam, and toil she eat of it all the days of your life, both thorn and thistle like cotton. All right. You shall bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herbs of the field. In this sense, it is bitter. In the sweat of your face, you shall eat bread. Bread tells you about a certain evolution of man until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are. So this is to prove to you that he's could, like Trump said, the shitholes, right, of Africa, the countries, is proving to you that he's talking about, when he used the word dust, he's not saying out of the dust, he's calling him the dust, man of the dust, man of nothing, right? Dust you are, and to dust you shall return. And I'm trying to tell you that this is not to say that he formed them, which let's go to that real quick. Formed, as opposed to first, as you see in Genesis 1:27, God created man. Created meaning what? Created meaning he brings something into existence, right? He created in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So in one sentence, it used to create it 3 times, right? 3 times. And in one sentence, he tells you that male and female were both created and conceived at once. And this is Genesis 1. But if you go to Genesis 2, you would notice that God used the word created here, the word used is created here. But then when it comes to talking about the man of the dust, it's used formed, okay? To confirm that, the form means to visible shape or configuration of something. All right? The form, the color, the texture, the trees. So we're forming man. Man, what? Not out of the dust as has been told often, but man of the dust. Like he said, the dust you are. So this is to confirm that he is forming man, not creating man. That's been used right here and right here. It was used 3 times in reference to creating man in Genesis 1. But now we're talking about forming man. And just in case you get confused by that, man of the dust of the ground, meaning the dust, man of the dust of the ground, right? Man of the dust of the ground. With the serpent, right? And breathed into his nostril. Let's look at it. Look at what has been blown off. The nostril. You see the identity, the demonizing of the serpent, demonizing of the man with the nostrils being breath of life. So when you give life to someone, when you do CPR, you breathe in their lips. The nostrils is a reference to confirm that we're talking what? About the man that is formed. And to confirm that, here it says, again, he was formed, and he put man, who he had formed, into the garden, right, to tend the ground. And why? Because there was no man. Why was the man formed? Because there was no man to till the ground. See how that's italicized? All right. There was no man to till the ground. So this is the reason why this man was formed and then placed. He put the man who he had formed eastward in the garden. See what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, this is allegories about these Africans being taken and placed in the garden to till the ground. Now, driving home, Londell, prove all things. So go to the book of prophecies written by yours truly, Christopher Columbus, right? Christopher Columbus, the Italian explorer, Rome explorer, Latin explorer, navigator, colonialist, right? Completed 4 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean under the auspices of the Catholic monarchs of Spain, who had funded it. So what does it mean to found? What? The Garden of Eden must be found was his mission, which means to what? Establish or originate in an institution or organization, especially providing endowment, as the Catholic monarchs did, Sir Ferdinand and Isabella, right? And Christopher Columbus, in his mind, showed thought that the Catholic monarchs would fulfill this position of the last world emperor, all right, because of their vast imperial power and religious conviction, all right. So this is the reason why Rome still rules the world through Catholicism under the auspices of the Catholic monarchs, right? Spain, the Spaniards, the Goths. It's really the Goths that migrated. They migrated. So when the migrators, the original people that migrated out of this region, yeah, they converted here. But if they didn't like the persecution under the Khazarian Empire, they fled. They went into where? Constantinople. Prove it, Londell. Don't tell me to prove it, people. Prove it. So let's go to Constantine, right? Let's go to Wikipedia real quick. 13th Amendment. Let's go to Constantine. Constantine. Noble. I'm spelling it wrong. Come on. I'm sorry, people. I had this up. I don't even know where. Book of Prophecy. All right, I just want to go to Constantine real quick. Bear with me here. Constantine. All right, Constantinople. All right, so let's go to no. Let's go to Constantine. All right, Constantine the Great. Here we go. Let's go to him. Constantine the Great. All right. All right. In this sign, you will conquer. Okay. So Constantine the Great is known for saying "In hoc signo vinces," which means in English is in this sign you will conquer, which is the Christian sign. Well, it's been now monetized as the Christian sign. The sign right here, as you can see here, Christendom. He is the first emperor who converted to Christian and tried to unite the Roman kingdoms under Christianity. All right. So this is very important to understand that here's proof that Constantine was actually a liberator. Ah, man, I thought. All right. Here, let's see here. Man, why did I not see that? Let's see here. Man. I was looking up Ra. Oh man, I don't know. It's just messed it all up. All right, so but anyway, Constantine wrote laws that where are they at? History. He wrote laws that freed the Christians who fled and were under the persecution of this was his model. Let's find out. Constantine the Great. Quotes is what I'm looking for. All right, so I'm looking for quotes from Constantine. All right, so let's just do it this way. Constantine the Great. The Great. All right, so let's see if we can get the quotes here. I don't understand why. So, why? I mean, I was just here. Let's see. All right, so hopefully we can see here. I don't understand why. I can't find it, man. Why I can't find it? Christianity before Constantine. Where is the quotes from that? Alright, so I'm messing up my whole thing. Khazar, Google statues out of Middle Passage. All right, so I don't know. I can't find it. So why does it do that? All right. Notes and references. I wanted to go back to Constantine the Great. Later rule, legacy. See also. Well, they had quotes. I don't know where on the planet the quotes are. Where they Constantine actually reformed. Uh, all right, so let's point out this part here where it says that Constantine made some new laws regarding the Jews. Some of them were unfavorable towards Jews, although they were not harsher than those of his predecessors. It was made illegal for Jews to seek converts or to attack other Jews who had converted to Christianity. They were forbidden to own Christian slaves or to circumcise their slaves. On the other hand, Jewish clergy were given the same exemptions as the Christian clergy. Um, that's not really what I'm looking for. He wrote he was quoted of right. He's made some laws that really protected people from slavery and being enslaved by the Hebrews, the Jews. Okay, and specifically the Jews that are migrating out of the Khazarian Empire. And as you see, you can even see some of the same marks. You can see, who's doing this defacing, and that tradition. That tradition you see is widespread in the African kingdom. But you see, somebody is doing this. Whoever's doing that, and I think it's part of uh, the secret nature of the group, which kind of identifies themselves. But he definitely made it. He made it. He made it very very interesting for slaves to become Christian, because if they became Christian, then they could not be enslaved by uh, by the Jews, right? North African bishops struggled with Christian bishops who had been ordained by Donatus in opposition to uh, Cecilian from 313 to 316. The African bishops could not come to terms, and the Dietists asked Constantine to act as a judge in the dispute. So you see that there's North African bishops struggling with Christian bishops. Right? This is where there's a separation there, in between black and white and racial things in the Christian kingdom, and also you see the relationship between the Christian and the Jews in the Roman Empire. So I mean that's not really what I was actually looking for, but I guess that I have to do, um, because I can't find the quotes, Constantine's uh, quotes, and I can't take up any more time. I know it's probably been an hour. It's a whole page, Wikipedia. And here we go. So as you can see, here it says, if any Jew has purchased purchased a circumcised, if any Jew purchased and circumcised, if any Jew has purchased and circumcised a Christian slave, or one of any other sex that than his own, he shall not keep the circumcised slave in servitude, but the man who has suffered this outrage shall be granted the rights of liberty. All right, so even in Constantine believed that this blood sacrifice practice by the Jewish people was an outrage, right? But Shishim and Hamar did it quickly, right? And then they were obviously beheaded as a result. But he also noted the saying, if the Jews has bought and circumcised a Christian slave or one belonging to any other religious community, he may under no circumstances keep the circumcised person in slavery. Rather, whoever suffers such a thing shall obtain the privilege of freedom. So your circumcision was the root of your freedom, which is a privilege. Notice that. It's a privileged freedom that was granted if you went through, if you suffered the ritual of circumcision. You now got your freedom. All right. So some time ago, all right, we'll let it go. It's not right that a Jew who has circumcised a slave of this kind should keep him in slavery. So this is where getting circumcised became synonymous with freedom. And therefore, you see reason why people would convert to Christianity real quick. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You know, there is real world reasons for all of these things that we see going on. All right. The sons of Jacob, right? They said, we cannot do this thing, give our sister to one who is uncircumcised. How did they do? They just spoke deceitfully. We got to be careful about this. They spoke deceitfully, right? If every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, right? That was the deceit. So the young man did not delay to do this horrible thing, right? He was more honorable than all the household of his father. The story is not about rape. This story is about race, right? Like I said, Israel is very racist, right? It says the men grieved and were angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel. I'm not making this up. Jacob is the personification of Israel in the allegories. By lying with Jacob's daughter, the sons of Jacob are the offspring of Jacob, the people of Jacob. The daughters are their women. A thing which ought not to be done. So this is what they're establishing in this allegory, in this story. So it doesn't matter if you offer him your land, all the possessions, right? All the dowry and gift he offered for this woman to be his wife. He loved, he spoke kindly to him. Give me this woman. He loved the young woman, spoke kindly to the young woman. They'll try to demonize this guy and say that he raped her. He did not rape her. It was about race, okay? And so it says we're not going to do it because of the uncircumcision. So the men decided that they were going to be, the natives decided they were not going to, but if you will not heed us and not be, we're gone. Okay, so they no deal without the circumcision. So they agreed to it. All right. So then now it came to pass on the third day when they were all in pain from the circumcisions, the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and boldly came upon the city and killed all the males. All right. The males are always the target. The women is what they want because then they can reproduce themselves through the women. And they killed Hamar and Shisham, his son, with the edge of the sword and took Dinah from Shisham's house and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because the sisters had been defiled. They took the sheep, the oxen, the donkey, all that was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives, and took captive. They took captives and plundered even all that was in the houses. Jacob said to Simeon, you have troubled me and made me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the who? Canaanites and the Perizzites. All right? All right, and that's what they say. So do you treat our sister like a harlot? Look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, same thing, right? Riot began Memorial Day weekend. 19-year-old Dick Rollins, shoeshiner, accused of assaulting a young Paige, a 17-year-old woman, right? So what did they do? A mob burned and looted stores, homes. About 10,000 black people were left homeless. The property damaged more than 1.5 million in this day, 31 million today's day. Black people said the policeman had joined the mob. Others, like the National Guard, and fired guns, machine guns on the black community, dropped sticks of dynamite, right? The first bombing, air attack, destroyed the wealthiest community in the U.S., just like the Tower of Babel, where they scattered abroad, right? Right, just like the Tower of Babel, and just like the Dinah incident. But the key thing with the Dinah incident is what? Look. Jacob and his household, all that was with him, put away the foreign gods among you. Purify yourselves and change your garment. They wiped out the old opera singing. And let us arise and go to Bethel and make an altar there. God answered me in the day of my distress, which I've gone. Right? He was running from his brother, but he fled from his brother because he stole his brother's birthright and his blessings from his father through deception. All right. And so they gave all their foreign gods in their hand, the ankh, and the earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them. Who is us? Our history was hidden under the terebinth tree, which was by Shisham. All right. So we, the sons of Jacob, hid our history under the terebinth tree. This is the reason why in Revelations it says that our tree, tree of life, right, is a right. Right? That the tree of life is a right. Right? That there shall be no more curse, people. If you understand, there shall be no more curse. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. The leaves of the tree is these pages. The remnants, right? The remnants of history, right? The things that our ancestors gave us to piece together what we believe in, so we can heal once we return back to our divine principles of living our lives with purpose for the perpetual cycle of life, so that we can leave our ancestors back. Not our ancestors, our offspring, the remnants of history, so that they can build and become a greater nation, a greater people off of, okay? So what I'm trying to illustrate here today is the Bible is our people. The Bible is about you, the black people and the white people, and the progression of the world's history, right? All of this stuff can be explained. No, God did not divide the seas like the movie where the water is, that's ridiculous, people. Right? It is the small land bridge that nature has, God through nature had created for an exodus out into the land of Canaan. This is the practical sense, right? This was all one body of water surrounding Africa. And this is the land bridge, a small 100-mile land bridge into the land of Canaan. This land is coveted because of its location, geographic location. It is occupiable by the people of the Caucasus Mountains, right? They can live and coexist in that. And it's easily accessible from all of this here. The trade, like I mentioned all over. I don't want to go through things twice. So this is the worldview for today. I hope this is a lot. There's so much that we can explore. I prove a lot of things here. Hope you enjoy. Let me know what your comments are. We do have a Patreon page. You can follow us on a regular basis and support us in our efforts around the world. We're actually building in Belize, which is an African American country right here between Guatemala and Honduras. As soon as my map starts working here. And we are basically supporting black business both locally and abroad. And as soon as my globe starts acting normal, my goodness. All right, so let's go. Belize is right here, people. I don't know what's going on with my globe. So we have Belize's Internet Cafe, where she is making delicious Belizean food, right? You can go to tourbelize.com and get more information on what we're doing in Belize. Lisa is building an internet cafe. We have access to authentic Belizean tours. A lot of the problems what happens there, you can go here and click on Airbnb and get some $40 credit towards your first trip if you are not already on Airbnb. But we are giving the native Belizean people a fair opportunity to reach and access tourists. People want to come there and give them to tell their story rather than foreigners who have the ability to get online and have the assets and the resources to be able to beat out the native people and compete for the tours. And so they're doing tours on foreign land rather than the actual people there. So we have a foothold here in Belize. We have a foothold in Rio de Janeiro, where we're going to be going in November to celebrate Zumbi dos Palmares, which is the Black History Month down there, and he's one of the Black heroes, Zumbi dos Palmares. I had him up here somewhere. And Zumbi dos Palmares, he was an important warrior figure in the Brazilian history, being one of the pioneers of the resistance to slavery. In the early 1600s, he broke away and he founded his own colony. And, this is related, to Rio history. If you notice, the first revolt in Brazil was the Mali Revolt. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick. Prove all things. Zumbi dos. Let's go to Mali Revolt. M-A-L-E in Portuguese. Come on, people. Mali Revolt. All right. So Mali Revolt in Portuguese is perhaps the most significant slave rebellion in Brazil on Sunday during Ramadan in January 1835 in the city of Salvador Bahia. A small group of black slaves and freedmen, inspired by Muslim teachers, the Moors most likely, rose up against the government, all right, in 1835, all right, in Salvador Bahia. It was actually broken up because the information got out. All right, somebody leaked the information out, and they were the legalists were able to prepare in enough time, which is unfortunate. The Haitian Revolt happened about 40 years before. Notice if you change this E, really before to an I, Mali Revolt, and you will get images of the Mali, right? The actual Mali, because this is really the people, right, who were taken to Brazil. So you can follow the history often just by dissecting the language through Morocco, right? The Moors came down to Nigeria. You add a G to that, you get nigger, right? Nigger, nigger. So the point is that these is where the Negroids, which simply just means black, the black people. Same thing with Kemet. Same thing with Ethiopia. This is the white language. Ethiopia is Greek, Greek, which means basically Ethiopia means the black people. Kemet was the original name, which means the black lands, the black people. And Egypt is a word that the Egyptians substituted the word of Kemet for. All right, that's been adopted by the Roman and now the Brits and the rest of the world, the European Western world. So if you notice, I got topic of Cancer This is the line in which the black dark people actually exist because of their skin color, and it goes all the way down to the Tropic of Capricorn here, where Rio de Janeiro is at. So I think we've talked about enough today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know what your thoughts are. God bless.